I'm going to do I'm going to do a different prayer today.
Beautiful.
It's paraphrasing a prayer, an appeal that Louisa made in volume 11. It's the Good Morning to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament prayer. I'm not going to do that prayer. And the Good Evening prayer to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, which is from the first pages of volume 11. The reason I'm letting you know this is what Jesus said for those souls who do these two prayers, Good Morning to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament and Good Evening to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament before you go to bed. Now, these are the prayers that are in my book, Acts of Love in the Divine Will, there. And I do them each day because of the promise Jesus made, a unique and special promise. He said, my daughter, these prayers really came out of my heart. Whoever will recite them with the intention of being with me, as it is expressed in these prayers, I will keep him, her, with me and in me to do what I do. I will not only warm him or her with my love, but each time I will increase my love toward that soul, admitting him or her to union with the divine life and with my own desires to save souls. This is the promise Jesus makes. And before Louisa begins the prayer, she writes a paragraph which I'm going to paraphrase into an actual prayer. Jesus, I want you always in my mind to think your holy thoughts. Jesus, I want you always on my lips to speak your holy words. Jesus, I want you always in my heart to beat out your eternal I love you in other hearts. Jesus, I want only to gaze at you with your own gazes of love. Jesus, I want to only hear you and your beautiful voice with your own hearing. Jesus, I want to be clasped by you, and I want to clasp others in you. Jesus, I want to do everything together with you. I want to love with you, Jesus, suffer with you, Jesus, joke with you, Jesus, cry with you, Jesus. I want to write with you, Jesus, and speak with you, Jesus. Without you, Jesus, I don't even want to draw breath. I will stay here like a fussy little girl, doing nothing, so that you, Jesus, will come to do everything with me, content to be your amusement, abandoning myself to your love, to your lashes, to your worries, and to your loving whims, as long as I do everything with you, Jesus. See, my Jesus, this is my will, and you will not move me from it. Do you hear? So now come and write with me. And I say, come, Jesus, and speak in me. Amen.
Amen. James is very clever. He's taped it, hopefully. I'll be having it on my phone in the morning.
Right. You did very well while he was away, James. It was good. God took you away to improve Jenny's technological
Praise God.
skills.
Praise God.
That much. Ah, beautiful. We've got Geraldine up. Okay, Geraldine. James first, sorry.
So looking next to the image of Therese here. In your little nothingness, you will find the great all. And with him, what can you not do? Love for love. To feel our nothingness and to rejoice in being only a poor little nothing is indeed a great grace and profit. How it costs to give Jesus what he asks. What joy that it costs. What an unspeakable joy to carry our crosses feebly. It is a gold mine to be exploited. To be a very obscure grain of sand, truly hidden from all eyes, so that Jesus alone may be able to see, seen only by the eyes of Jesus. Whoops, sorry. The grain of sand wants to get to work without joy, without courage, without strength. We read that again. In your little nothingness, you will find the great all. And with him, what can you not do? Love for love. To feel our nothingness and to rejoice in being only a poor little nothing is indeed a great grace and profit. How it costs to give Jesus what he asks. What joy that it costs. What an unspeakable joy to carry our crosses feebly. It is a gold mine to be exploited. To be a very obscure grain of sand, truly hidden from all eyes, so that Jesus alone may be able to see it, seen only by the eyes of Jesus. The grain of sand wants to get to work without joy, without courage, without strength.
I said this is a perfect image of Louisa, as you might have all interpreted. She wanted to remain hidden, unknown by anyone, even the priests. She, on several occasions, asked Jesus to take away the priests and the visitors. She wanted to be completely buried in his will, in him alone, and for him alone. So this is why I put this quote in the book, because the following paragraphs that we will listen to are particularly important for souls that live in the divine will, when Saint Therese describes the way of oblivion, the way of oblivion, and this is the way of living in the divine will. And Therese describes the difference between living with the virtue of humility and living the way of oblivion. And with oblivion, as Saint Therese describes, you're such a tiny little grain at the bottom of the ocean that nobody knows you're even there. Your existence is unknown to everyone. So continue, James.
Prefer oblivion to humiliation. Look in his face, and there you will see how he loves you. The grain of sand longs to be reduced to nothing, to be unknown by creatures. It desires nothing other than to be forgotten. Not contempt or insults, this would be too glorious for the grain of sand. Were one to despise it, one would have to see it. But to be forgotten not only by creatures, but also by myself, to have no desire whatsoever. The glory of my Jesus, that is all. To prefer oblivion to humiliation.
The excuse me. This is my voice is going. Excuse me. This is a critical disposition in the divine will. Is you prefer oblivion to humiliation, because as Saint Therese and Louisa understood, when you feel humiliation, it's because someone's noticing you. They notice you sufficiently to want to humiliate you. But when you become oblivious to yourself and you don't do anything to be noticed, then you are wanting, you're desiring oblivion. Now, how does this fit in with, say, Jenny and James and me, who are coming out into the public view? I just want to make this clear. This does not negate the powerful lesson here about desiring to be unknown and desiring to be oblivious, because Louisa desired to be unknown and oblivious to the superlative degree. You only have to read her writings to understand that. But even Jesus, he kept her hidden for a certain time. And then when he told her she had to become known, like he had to become known after his hidden life in Nazareth, because when the deposit of a special aspect of God, and the depository of the divine will is the deposit of the substance of God himself, you can't remain hidden forever. It's your desire to remain oblivious forever. That is the important thing. But it is more humiliating for a soul that has that desire to go public. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is when a desire has that desire for oblivion, even amongst their friends and family, they want to be only for God and to live only in God, for God alone. And this is what Saint Teresa said: for the glory of God alone, to love him alone, to be loved by him alone. But like Saint Teresa, who remained hidden, she the divine will wouldn't allow her to remain hidden, because she received this secret, this special doctrine of the way of oblivion. Prefer oblivion to humiliation. Because she said, when we're trying to be humble, we're still noticing ourselves, we're observing ourselves. And in the observation of ourself, there's still that tiny little bit of self there that needs to die. So Louisa is the perfect Our Lady, excuse me, Our Lady, of course, is the supreme example of living in the divine will, but we're not mentioning Our Lady here because we're focusing on this this particular aspect of Louisa's life. So the more one desires to disappear into that ocean of the divine will, like Saint Teresa said, a little grain of sand buried at the bottom of that ocean. So, for example, I struggled with this when I was called out, to teach after many years wanting to be unknown, and just basically didn't want to be part of anything really, because even in apostolates, the apostolates in the church, which I wasn't a part of anything major, but there's always the human element there, the human interaction with souls, and there's varying degrees of personalities, etc., and the struggle between different personalities and working together in a particular way. And you have to be a very special kind of person to negotiate that with grace and with sanctity. And I didn't have that capacity, I didn't believe anyway. But even in the arena of holy works, do you understand what I'm saying? There are still dangers for the human ego to emerge. So therefore, often the saints preferred to, because of their great love for Jesus, they preferred to be alone with him and to receive all his sanctity within them, because they knew their frailty. Therese here says, what a treasure it is, to go ahead feebly, weakly, It's a gold mine to be explored, she says, even if you feel you have nothing, which we do in the divine will, the nothingness of virtue, the nothingness of nothingness. It's just, we understand this is a great gift to be aware of our nothingness. This is why I put this quote from Saint Therese in this book, because the greatest gift we can have is this awareness that without God, we would cease to exist. But our nothingness is beautiful to God. Hence the video I use a lot, The Beauty of Nothing by Pastor Wormbrand. I watch that every so often because he discovered in his isolation the beauty of nothingness. And that's another aspect. So, James, could you read that again, that paragraph, prefer oblivion to humiliation, and keep going.
Look in his face, and there you will see how he loves us. The grain of sand longs to be reduced to nothing, to be unknown by creatures. It desires nothing other than to be forgotten. Not contempt or insults. This would be too glorious for the grain of sand. Were one to despise it, one would have to see it. But to be forgotten not only by creatures, but also by myself.
There's the key word there, James, but also by myself.
Yeah.
Now, this is a difference between the sanctity of the virtues and the sanctity of sanctities. In the sanctity of virtues, we were trained to self-examination was part of our daily, practice. Going through, the measuring rod of maybe the 10 Commandments or the Beatitudes, etc. And we were constantly, well, at least in my upbringing, we were constantly made to look at ourselves and to examine where we had failed, you know, so that we could tell that in confession, or we could be aware of our weaknesses to such a degree. It was the good motive was for us to improve, right? But in the sanctity of sanctities, it's different. It's not that we don't desire to grow in holiness. We do desire, but we desire only God's holiness. That it's a different, you understand what I'm saying, don't you? It's a different desire. But to forget yourself totally, to be oblivious to yourself, is the greatest gift God can give you. You're always looking only outward towards God, number one, your love for Jesus. What Teresa's saying here, look into his face, see his beauty, see his suffering, see his love. No matter what you're doing all day, when you're looking at another human being, you know, because particularly Jenny, in Jenny's position, she's always dealing with human beings, but she's seeing the face of Jesus in them, always, you know. So she is offering the sacrifice of her life, her personal desire, you know, to be with Jesus specially, which is a great sacrifice in order to bring his face to others, to bring his life and love for others to others. This is a way of Jenny being oblivious to herself. Do you see? I'm trying to point out a point, not to embarrass Jenny, but people who come out in the forefront, others can misinterpret it. They can say, oh, you know, he or she, you know, they just want to be out there, you know, number one star, you know, they get criticized. But it's actually an act of humility to sacrifice your life in order to bring others to Jesus. It was a book I read a long time ago by a German theologian. It was a very little book. It was called The Way, like what humility really is. And he said, sometimes it's more painful, as it was for Louisa, to come out of her oblivion and to be known. It crucified her. She used to have many conversations with Jesus about it. Why do I have to be known? Why are you doing this? Why are you? And he had to keep telling her why over and over. And it for the soul who wants to be oblivious, it's a great crucifixion to come out into the public arena. I want people to understand this, because I hear criticisms, you know, of people that are engaged at the forefront of the divine will and other apostolates, you know, because of the human tendency to judge and criticize, you know, and humility comes in very different forms. Humility doesn't mean you have to hide away all the time and pretend you've got nothing to offer. Oh, you know, I can't do that. I don't want to do that, you know. It's sort of like a false humility. So if God gives you a gift, and he wants to draw you out to use that gift, it's painful for you. You have to sacrifice yourself to go out there in the public. It's a sacrifice. And I hope I'm not going off track here, but it's just that I've come out of relative solitude, and I'm starting to meet a lot of people in the retreats I just gave in Sydney. And I see the dangers that are there, you know, in the public arena. And especially for the divine will, we must present ourselves to others with this particular aspect, always having the desire to be forgotten, but willing to come out, to shine Jesus' face on others. So before I speak, I'm horrified when I see myself on a video. I say, who would want to listen to that person? You know, it's like I say, Jesus, please let them see your face. Please let them hear your words. Please, Jesus. And he still leaves my face up there, and it's just mortifying, you know. And like, honestly, I'm glad the guy forgot to put the audio on my videos, because you know, it was frightening to think that, you know, these videos might be shown somewhere. But you see, Jesus has his own way, and if he wants someone to do something, he tricks you. He finds ways to bring you out in the public, you know, and he's inexorable with his will. You know, if he wants to do something, doesn't matter what you think, he'll eventually capture you. And therefore, I want to honor. You know, I've got tears in my eyes because I want to honor all those like Tom Fay and Jenny and Father Robert Young and Father John Olin Brown, and all those souls who over the years brought us this celestial doctrine through sacrificing their life, their private life, and they did everything to bring us the treasure of treasures. You see, we've been gifted with something that most of the world doesn't want and they don't know. And I wanted to honor each one of you for sacrificing your life to come out publicly and work hard to bring it to me and to other souls, because I wouldn't have found the Book of Heaven if Tom Fay hadn't have come to Australia, and I was healed of a lifetime illnesses, and just by reading Louise's words in those books. And because of the sacrifice he made, I was given this gift in my hermitage. I was alone and suffering, and I received this great gift that is greater than any gift that anyone could ever be given on the face of the earth. And I want to say thank you to you, Jenny, and to you, all of you who have put their lives out there to bring us this gift. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to do that.
Well, thank you, Geraldine. All glory and praise to God. And I want to thank you for these incredible, rich teachings, the way you make them available. I'm just blown away, and all the different booklets, which would have taken years and years and years, and it's going to take us years and years and years to masticate. So all glory and praise to God for everything. He is the beginning and the end of everything. Isn't he awesome? And he uses weak, feeble instruments. I know, I'm one of them. With glory and praise to him. Thank you. We'll get on with the book, with the readings. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Dying by pinpricks.
Yes.
Meanwhile, let us begin our martyrdom, and let us allow Jesus to tear away from us everything that is most dear to us. and let us refuse him nothing. Before dying by the sword, let us die by pinpricks. If it is not through blood, it must be through love, but without feeling the sweetness of this love. Perhaps this is still martyrdom. I'll read that again. Meanwhile, let us begin our martyrdom, and let us allow Jesus to tear away from us everything that is most dear to us, and let us refuse him nothing. Before dying by the sword, let us die by pinpricks. If it is not through blood, it must be through love, but without feeling the sweetness of this love. Perhaps this is still martyrdom.
This is, I don't know if people know the story of Saint Therese, but she suffered this martyrdom within herself, and also criticism that when she went into Carmel, apparently certain people criticized her for abandoning her father, whom she loved dearly. And her other sister, Celine, I think it was left to look after her father, and who's Saint Louis, Louis Martin. And he suffered terribly, a martyrdom of giving the gift of all his children, to the religious life. He suffered an unusual mental suffering in his last years. I used to pray to him a lot because I suffered with certain mental sufferings for a long time. And I relate to these saints that did have that kind of suffering. And I just want you to see in this, she talks about this martyrdom of love, of separating from everything most dear to us. Allow God to take away everything that is most dear to us. Teresa actually lived that, because for her to go into Carmel at such a young age, she adored her father, loved him deeply, but she loved God. She understood what it was to give all of herself to God. And we must remember that if all that is dear to us is taken from us, it's Jesus doing it. You see, it's him doing it, because he wants us to live totally for him and not for anything in this world. We're specially chosen to live his life, to allow him to live his life in us. And he gave all of himself for each one of us. If there had only been one creature on the earth, he would have suffered and died exactly the way he suffered and died, just for you. Just for you. And every weakness you have, any sin you've committed, he suffered a death. He shed his entire blood. He suffered all his wounds just for you. And little Saint Therese knew this, and knew that she wanted to return the totality of herself for him. Just remember how precious you are to Jesus. And this life is the greatest gift. He's given you to live this martyrdom of your own will. Notice how little Therese understands. You don't have to be martyred by shedding your blood. You need to be martyred by making your will disappear. Your human will never dies, because it's a treasure God gave you, your free will, but it never dies. But make it go to sleep, make it inactive, so that the divine will can reign in you. Thank you, James.
I was going to say, in some way, that's what it's. You say it's asleep, but it's asleep in some way. Our will is that our will would be asleep, so that God's will is active. So it actually means to really have our will active in one sense, because it's a total rejection of our own will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it's active by choosing to be inactive.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So, it's like writing a short letter. You know, writing a short letter is much harder than writing a long letter. You know.
Yeah.
So the pinpricks might seem like nothing, but actually that is the way. That's the way
Yeah.
towards modern. Yeah. Okay. Living in.
Don't forget we're listening here to a doctor of the church.
Right.
These words are written by a doctor of the church. Little Saint Therese is not little Saint Therese, you know. She's got the mind of Christ in her.
Yes.
You know. So go ahead. Yeah.
Living in my will is to disappear. From volume 12, 4th of August 1918. Have you seen what living in my will is? It is to disappear. It is to enter into the ambience of eternity. It is to penetrate into the omnipotence of the Eternal One, into the uncreated mind. Continuing from above. And as a nothing, she enters into the all and operates with me, in me, and like me. Completely stripped of herself, not caring about merit or self-interest, but all intent only on making me happy, giving me absolute lordship over her acts, without even wanting to know what I want, what I do with them.
Aha, now here's a key thing here. You know, it happens amongst divine will people, little newborns, as I call them. They want to know. They always want to know what's happening. You know, what happens if I do this or that. The way of oblivion is you don't need to know. Am I making myself clear?
Yes.
You do not need to know. You just need to do what Jesus asked you to do. You're nothing. He takes care of everything. He's the master of the universe. He's the master at work in every soul. Why do you need to interfere with the work of a master? It's like coming along to a master painter, and Michelangelo's painting the Sistine Chapel, and you get up there on the ladder and you think you can improve on it. Now, please, I have friends like this, so they want to get involved and interfere with the master's work. You know, because that's the sanctity of the virtues. Am I making it clear to you? The sanctity of the virtues is about us doing something in a way we think is a virtue. Oh, I've got to go and help this lady or something. Yes, there are times you have to involve yourself. If Jesus puts that in front of you, right, like the Good Samaritan, right? If he puts something in front of you, you must attend to it. It's in front of you. But please don't think you have to go and involve yourself in everybody else's drama or whatever else they're doing in their life that doesn't appear to you to be the right thing. Because even when people are slowly growing towards holiness or conversion, the master is at work in them. The master transformer of souls, the Holy Spirit, is at work in them. What's your job? I want to hear it from somebody. What is your part? What do you have to do? I'm asking a question here so you can answer. If you know the answer, I want to hear it.
If you know the answer, I want to hear it. I say nothing. I don't need to do anything.
No, you do need to do something.
Do your act.
You have to love.
Do the act.
You have to love your
Sit
neighbour.
around. Respond.
No,
You do your acts and your rounds, and you just get on with it and look at the face of Jesus.
that's it, James.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
You just do your life,
Like
every
you
act
do.
in the divine will, and you do your rounds, and you put an I love you in the divine will upon anything and everything in creation and redemption and sanctification, and get on with it. And you forget.
Yeah, that
And doesn't
Yeah,
matter what
James.
you feel.
Doesn't matter.
James, you can go to the top of the class, and
Beautiful.
unfortunately, I don't have any rewards here, like
Ah,
a lolly.
This is my reward. I'm rewarded beyond belief.
We have one, this is what I constantly focus on in my teaching. We have one single thing to do, and that's enter the one single act of God in which all acts are contained, and place our I love you in every act. And in specific cases, you can enter a specific act. You go do your rounds in that act. You place your I love you on the divine act. And then you take the fruits of that act, which are eternal, infinite, and you can't even describe, let's face it, the fruits of that act. And you take it to all humanity, including the people you are feeling inclined to, help or whatever, but it depends on their disposition. Now, if you keep doing that, keep doing your rounds of creation, redemption, and sanctification, which, by the way, to a certain degree, I'm sacrificing my continual prayer life because of the constant need. There's a great hunger for teaching out there. I've discovered there's a great hunger amongst souls for learning how to live this life. Not just talking about it, how we live it. And James gave us the answer. It's what Jesus says continually in the volumes. When Louisa starts to worry about something, like, or what's happening in Italy, or, all the different political situations and the war, he draws her back to the one necessary thing. Consoling him, living with him, looking into his face, looking at his soul, merging with his sufferings, embracing his sufferings, consoling him, so he then feels inclined, because at that point he doesn't feel inclined to save them, he feels inclined to destroy. So, okay, let's say you're a wife married to a husband who's getting very angry, and he's decided, I'm going to administer a severe punishment, on whatever, the people at work, his children, whatever it is. And you see the mediation of his wife, because by her love for him, I'm making this very basic. She cooks him a really good meal. She puts her arms around him. She tells him, he's doing a wonderful job. And then little by little, she calms his anger. She calms his emotions. It's amazing how Louisa does that with Jesus, because he reaches the height, his justice starts to take over from it. not take over, it, what's the word I'm looking for? It predominates his mercy. You know, he wants his justice to act. And then she, as the beautiful soul, victim soul she is, she ameliorates his desire to destroy. She ameliorates it. How does she do it? She does it by entering into him with his divine will and then speaking to him about how wonderful his mercy is, etc. But he doesn't always give way to her, by the way. He doesn't always answer a prayer, because he says, Louisa, if I answered you, and he said, that's why I stay away from you, because you're asking me in the divine will to do this. And I have to stay away from you because I can't say no to my will. So he stays away from her in order to chastise. And then he tells her, I have to chastise, because if I don't, souls will be lost eternally in hell. Souls will be lost eternally in hell. And she finally gets the message after many years of this constant debate. And she realizes she must live in the deprivation of divine consolation, which is the greatest wound she suffers, in order to bring about the transformation of humanity. So whatever we're deprived of in this life, it's a gift. Deprivation of every human consolation, every divine consolation is a gift. So in the divine will, we expect nothing. We're not looking for rewards. We're not looking to be satisfied in our personal and our spiritual life. We don't have a desire to have anything. We don't have a desire to be rewarded. We never complain. We never complain about what Jesus is doing. It's important that we be still in the embrace of his arms and let him to do everything he wants to do with us, even as Saint Therese said, even if he takes everything from us that we love, let him do it. Because you're the only souls on earth that have the capacity to allow him to do these things in his will. Your response in his will is a divine act. If someone allows all these things to happen in their human will, it doesn't have an eternal effect. It has no eternal effect on souls. So if you read that again, James, and as a nothing,
And as a nothing, she enters into the all and operates with me, in me, and like me, completely stripped of herself, not caring about merit or self-interest, but all intent only on making me happy, giving me absolute lordship over her acts, without even wanting to know what I do with them.
Well, we could take that paragraph, James and Jenny, and we could put it on a big billboard. I nearly used an Australian expletive then. I put it on a big billboard, and if we all read that every day and we lived that, we'd be on, on the platform of being able to live in the divine will. It's very important that we have no self-interest. It's important that we don't need to know what Jesus is doing. We have no curiosity about what he's doing. He will share with us from time to time what he's doing, and that's wonderful. But we mustn't be, we have disinterest. disinterest in everything. Because the trick of the devil, if the devil can get into our minds, is he wants to get us interested in the dramas of this world. He loves that. He loves to get us interested, because as soon as we do that, he takes us down a rabbit hole. He takes us down a rabbit hole of
I thought, who cares?
more and more curiosity about this, that, and the other. And before we know it, we're not doing our rounds. We're not focusing on Jesus. We're focusing on something else. This is a very key. This paragraph here is very, very key about living in the sanctity of the divine will.
Geraldine, this is Thomas. This makes me think of Job from the Old Testament.
Yes.
Where he had to give up everything, and everything was taken away from him. He was just sitting on a pile of dung.
Oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Thank you. I love the book of Job, you know, but guess what in the end happens, you know?
Yeah.
he gets back triple what he was prepared to give up. I mean, Job is perfect, you know. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be his name. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. The Lord's taken everything from me in the human realm, but he's given me the best thing. I'm even glad I didn't become a nun when I was young. I wanted to become a Carmelite nun, and there were obstructions to that. And I said, I'm so glad, because like I would have been locked into a particular spirituality. God was reserving the best of the best for me. And then he took a lifetime to take everything away so that he could give me the best. You know, let God do what he wants with you. That's my thing today. Let him do whatever he wants and stop arguing with him. He knows what he's doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I can't see your name, that gentleman.
Thomas.
Lovely. Thomas.
Yes. Thank you, Geraldine.
Perfect. Read the book of Job, everyone. You'll get the idea. Okay. Thanks, James. Sorry, I interrupt all the time.
No, Geraldine, we love all these little pearls. Thank you.
Only one thought occupies her: to live in my will, praying to me that I may give her the honor. This is why I love her so much, and all my predilections and my love are for this soul who lives in my will. And if I love the others, it is by virtue of the love which I have for this soul, and which descends from her, just as the Father loves the creatures by virtue of the love that he has for me.
Aha. So there you have it. If you give all of yourself to Jesus, he loves all other souls because of you, because you love him more than all the others. So that's what I was saying before about, say, the husband and wife thing, you know, and Louisa and Jesus. Because she loves him above all others, he does everything on this earth because of his love for her. And he'll do everything. If you love him with your whole heart, first commandment, love the Lord with your whole heart, your whole mind, your whole soul, your whole strength. If you fulfill that first commandment, Jesus will do everything that you desire to see happen on the earth. So go ahead. You can read that paragraph again, James, if you like,
Absolutely, love to.
because it's, yeah.
Only one thought occupies her, to live in my will, praying to me that I may give her the honor. This is why I love her so much, and all my predilections and my love are for this soul who lives in my will. And if I love the others, it is by virtue of the love which I have for this soul, and which descends from her, just as the Father loves the creatures by virtue of the love that he has for me.
Exactly. Now, if Jesus hadn't have taken on our humanity, we wouldn't have received the gift of redemption or sanctification. He loves us because of his love for Jesus. That's why he loves us. So that's why, you know, members of my family and others who think they can access love. Like my daughter said to me one day, Mum, I don't have to, you know, believe in Jesus or anything. I can just be a good person. Well, sorry, you can't. You can't be good without goodness itself ministering to you. The fact ministering his goodness, you know, to you. So the good you think you're doing is not really good. It has no eternal value. It's just making you think you being a good person by doing certain acts of charity or whatever. But without God, you are nothing, Jesus said. Without me, you can do nothing, and you are nothing. Go ahead.
And I said, how true it is what you say, that in your will one wants nothing and wants to know nothing.
Oh, get that. Yeah. Say that again, James.
How true it is what you say, that in your will
Sorry. Oh.
one wants nothing and wants to know nothing.
It's so true.
If one wants to do something, it is because you have done it. One feels the ardent desire to repeat your things. Everything disappears, and one no longer wants to do anything. And Jesus said, and I make her do everything, and I give everything to her.
Oh, what a powerful lesson this is, you know.
Yes.
I need to read it again and again myself. It's so important.
Yes.
Go on. Sorry,
Read it.
I should demute myself because
No,
I can't.
we love it. I agree with you, Geraldine. It's just so powerful.
And I said, how true it is what you say, that in your will one wants nothing and wants to know nothing. And if one wants to do something, it's because you have done it. One feels the ardent desire to repeat your things, and everything disappears. One no longer wants to do anything. And Jesus said, and I make her do everything, and I give everything to her.
I have no comment, James, because I'm. What can you say after that? Oh dear, the next one. Yes, the need.
Well, we're back.
This is a bit.
This
is a big. This is a big one, Jenny, because on my recent, you know, missionary tour
yes.
around Sydney, this is the one people can't quite get. They have a lot of objections to. But, you know, but I can't do continuous acts. I can't, you know, because I'm this, I'm that, I do this. So the challenge for me is to try and explain to people that Jesus doesn't ask for the impossible, and it's Jesus going to do them anyway. He's going to do the acts if you just allow him to do it and permit him to do it. So this is a big one because it's in the continuous acts that we do in the divine will that the uncreated heartbeat beats, palpitates in all creation. When you stop your continuous acts, Jesus says it's like stopping the heartbeat of creation. And when your body stops, when your heart stops beating in your body, you die, you know? So what he says, you're giving deaths to the life he wants to do in every one of these acts. And he calls it an abortion of the divine will. And therefore he says to Louisa, do you realize what you are losing by stopping? Unless she pauses through extreme exhaustion, and then he said, but fuse your resting into me. So in other words, even when you're stopping, you still must fuse that stopping, that sleeping, that resting into him. And that way you're still in the continuous mode of fusion. Now, this is a hard one for people, and I realize that, and it needs a special kind of teaching to help people understand. But I won't let them get off the hook because, I mean, I will not accept their excuses because Jesus is continuously asking for continuous rounds. And he's only got a few people on earth, such as yourselves, that are willing to do that. So we've got to take up the baton. We must take up the challenge and stop looking at our incapacity. There's no self-reflections in the divine will. As soon as you look at yourself, of course, it's impossible. So is time up, Jenny? You're looking at the clock.
Yes, time is up, and this is a really, really, really important thing to grasp. So I think we should do it next week, Geraldine. And it's been excellent. It's 6:10. So it's just excellent. Thank you so much for the sharing. I'll let you close, darling, with a beautiful prayer. How do we do this, James? Thank you, sweetheart. Yeah.
Well,
or we could pick someone in the someone that.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
John did it last week and he did such a sterling job. Now, who can we have? Jesus, pick someone that they won't. Oh, Thomas, you can end with a closing prayer. Let Jesus pray in you. Every prayer is awesome.
Oh my Lord, this is.
It'll be simple and sweet. Doesn't matter.
Jesus, why are you doing this to me?
Because I love you and trust Jesus in you to pray.
Oh, Jesus, please, my only love, let it be that nothing else but love, praise, reparation, and blessing toward you may come for me and all of my being. Amen.
Beautiful. You summed it up in a nutshell. My husband could do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.